Since taking out his training licence in 1988, Willie Mullins has enjoyed great success at the Cheltenham Festival through the likes of Miss That, Florida Pearl of course, and Real Supreme. And this year he has arguably his strongest team ever to take to Prestbury Park. We've come down to see how the preparations are going for Ireland's champion training.
There's one, Design 2, Scott 2, Pick a Grass will stay walking here, Glenlow, Pick a Grass. Don't know if I need to do any more with Vinny then.
We're about 3 weeks away from the festival itself now. What sort of routine do the horses go through between now and then?
I will be gearing up the horses that haven't run for Cheltenham. They did their first bit of work yesterday, and from now till Cheltenham I'll be gearing them up, and probably the week before Cheltenham then, because they'll be travelling and everything like that. We'll look at the weather, and I travel them by boat, and then we'll decide when their last bit of work will be. And hopefully between now and then we don't hear any coughing around the place, or I don't want my staff ringing me up and telling me to come out and look at a certain horse. You know, we've had a very trouble-free year injury-wise. It's absolutely amazing with the sort of form the horse are in. Very little coughs or colds and very little injury. You know, and hopefully it'll stay like that from now till Punchestown, never mind Cheltenham.
And Mikael D'Haguenet was the one we saw coming up the gallop first of all on the Ruby. I know if he's not quite the apple of your eye, he's pretty close to it, and everything looks like it's going well with him. Well,
thankfully we have a few nice apples this year between Mikael, Hurricane, Cousin Vinny, Cooldine. You know, there's just it's just an extraordinary year from our point of view. He's a huge big horse, as you can see. He's about 16.3, big, long, light-framed horse. Probably his light frame will keep him sound, I hope. You would probably rather a stronger horse, but he seems to have huge ability, and I'm just hoping that he'll stay right. And with the weather that we've had, I've been concerned that it might be too dry in Cheltenham, but we've had such a wet year, I think we can nearly forget about that.
And we've seen a few other big names amongst the team this morning. Kempes and Cousin Vinny, who seems to be none the worse, touch wood, for his unfortunate experience at Leopardstown.
No, Cousin Vinny came out of it fine. I think he jumped a rail afterwards and came out of it fine. So he didn't obviously have a very hard race. Patrick, I think, was only opening him up at that stage, and a lesson learned there. So
do you take things a little more steadily with him now after a fall like that, or an unseated rider? No, in fact, I will probably, because he didn't get the last furlong, which would be the hardest part of the race, I will probably get him back to work fairly quickly. He had a morning off this morning, did a warm-up, but he had a fair bit of work done last week as well, so I'm not too pushed. And Kempes, he was almost in danger of being a forgotten horse, really, with the two other high-profile horses there. That was until Price tipped him up, though, for the Supreme Novice, and he looks in good nick too. He
is in good nick. I got him in on Sunday in Naas. I got a look at that. He's only had 2 runs. He must have a fair bit of ability. He won the...
Jumping was so much sharper the second day, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, they learned. He'd had a run previously before when Francis had him, and which was going to be a big help to us, which means he's had 3 runs now. I could go to Cheltenham without another run, but I'm going to sit down, look at the race, maybe have a chat with Ruby about it, and we'll see. I'm not sure whether I'm going to run him or not yet, but whereas I hadn't really intended running him 2 or 3 weeks ago, now it looks like that he's probably going to go.
And a strong hand in Novice Chase company this season as well, Willie. The 2 O'Leary horses we saw there, Gold and Silver and Cooldine, both leading for Paddy de Plaster on their last runs.
Yes, Gold and Silver will probably go for the Arkle, and Cooldine for the RSA Chase. Both horses jump well, both have done their job nicely, so very pleased with them. Jo will probably go for the Arkle as well, and he'll have to brush up on his jumping, but probably I just came back to war too soon with him after his previous run. I think that might have been, I just rushed him a bit.
And Willie, we've also seen quite a few of the bumper horses mixed in with some of the more established names there this morning. Are you any closer to not so much sorting out the pecking order, but maybe finalising who's going to go across?
No, I'm just going to wait until the end of this week. I still have a couple of nice horses to bring out, and then we'll see what's well and what's not well. And they will start I'll start gearing them up for Cheltenham, and as they work and what they do over the next couple of weeks. Like I've got we've such talent in that department this year, and any one of them other years would be good enough to go on their own. So I don't know. It's going to be a bit ridiculous with the amount of horses that I'm going to enter in it, but I really don't know now what I'm going to do. I'll enter them all, any of the ones I think that are good enough to go, and I'll only decide in the last week, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that most of them are good enough to go in their own right, because you get a lot of people saying if you have 6 or 7 top horses, you probably don't have any at all, but you obviously don't feel that way.
No. I think I've got horses there. I have more than 6 or 7 that are as good as any of the horses that won the bumper over the years. It's incredible. I can't believe it myself. But that appears, it might look a stupid statement in after Cheltenham, but I got some beautiful, wonderful talent there.
Looking to the future, Willie, you'd obviously be very hopeful that some of these could maybe follow in the hoofprints of Florida Pearl. He was a top bumper horse and then went all the way through the ranks to be a top chaser and stayed at the top for many years.
I'm hoping that, a lot of people say bumpers ruin horse careers. I disagree. It makes them, because they learn so much about racing, and I think a lot of hard racing ruins horses' careers, or if they get too hard a race too young. But we've been lucky enough with all our bumper horses. They go through, they win their hurls, they win their chases, and Adamant Approach, he was 14 or 15 and we retired him, and he could actually race on again this year. I think he got a little injury and we decided to retire him, but he had such a zest for life, and I see the same with a lot of the older horses. Injury is probably the reason why most of them retire, and but as I said, this year we've had a really, really trouble-free run.
With such a strong team numerically, I know particularly after last year a lot of people will be paying close attention to the jockey bookings on the day. Is that a foolproof formula? Everybody lump on the one Patrick rides?
I don't think so. Patrick will probably do a lot of thinking, but I'd say he's scratching his head as much as I am at the moment. I have my own little theories, but as soon as I have a theory, something else comes out and does a nice bit of work, and next thing it changes the complexion of the whole thing. So I've got my own riders here who ride their work and ride for me during the year. Patrick, Ruby, Emmett, David Casey, Katie, and hopefully they'll all get. I like putting my own riders up because they know the way I like horses ridden and what I like done during a race. Rather than just going for what other people would conceive are the top riders, I'd rather have my own man who can tell me as well afterwards. And it's a formula that works for me.
An interesting mix of French breds and Irish breds. I know when we spoke around about New Year's time, Quinola de Zabot is a French bred that had impressed you with the way he'd won at Cork, but you've seen some of the Irish breds like Sicilian Secret, Glenlow Abbey, impressive winners lately.
That's right, and I think, I'm not sure, but it Gageville Flyer, maybe English bred, so we've got a nice selection, and a lot of the French breds seem to gallop all day, and maybe the Irish ones have a bit more speed. So it'll depend on the ground too on the day what horses might come into focus more, but hopefully we'll have one for each eventuality.
And I know round about that time when we spoke, you felt that Quinola de Zabot's win down at Cork was the best performance visually you'd seen. Anything since then maybe usurped that?
Well, Catspeed came out in Gorn and cantered in his 2 bumpers in Gorn in quite heavy ground. Sicilian Secret been doing a lot of good work at home. Glenlow Abbey has been doing good work at home. I don't know. It's going to be a toss of a coin on the day, maybe who gets a run.
And Willie, I know you love your Punchestowns, your Leopardstowns, and in recent years you're taking an increasingly strong team over to France at the end of the season, but is Cheltenham still the one that matters most, to be all and the end all?
Well, I think most people, when they ring you up to ask you to look for a horse or have you got one, and you say, what do you want, a steeplechase or a hurdler or a bumper horse or a flat horse? I'll say one that'll go to Cheltenham is probably the answer that they'll say.
And Willie, you ended Noel Meade's stranglehold on the Trainers' Championship last season. I get the impression maybe it's not a priority for you, but you're certainly looking good to follow up this time around.
I don't know, I always set out every year to try and win the championship and give Noel a bit of a run for his money. And
you're good pals too, the pair of you.
Yeah, but I mean, as Noel says, when it comes to the racetrack, it's war. But think you have to aspire to be to win the championship when you've got a team of horses. That I've been, since I started training, I have been trying to put together a team to win the championship. Yes, yeah, and you hoped someday you would.
And finally, just looking ahead, Willie, I suppose you've answered the question yourself in many ways already, but you must feel this is potentially the best team of horses you've ever had.
Oh, without a doubt, I'd say double the best team. I mean, last year we had a lot of winners and we got some nice prize money, especially towards the end of the season. But I'd say we might have had maybe 3 or 4 Grade 1 races, and this year they've been winning Grade 1 races from November. It's without doubt the best team I've ever had, probably ever will have. So it'll be hard to replicate it next year or the year after.
The message is watch out.
Well, I don't know, they're in good form, and as I said earlier on, I don't want to hear a cough. I don't want to hear my head man ringing me up and telling me that I've got to come out and look at a horse outside the door. So fingers crossed.